Well, hello there. This is Shane from Shane's Reviews, and I hope that you are having a great day today. Today we're going to be talking about Haraken, which was wrote by S.H. Jucha, and it was narrated, of course, by Grover Gardner. Anyway, the long and the short is this. I'm surprised yet again. It's certainly a good read. Is it worth your time, efforts, and energies? I'm thinking so. If you've never read any of the other ones, you may want to do yourself the courtesy of reading those before you get to this one. But this one doesn't disappoint. We're getting to some meat and bones, and there's some really cool things that happen inside of this one, which kind of takes it away from what would they do with internal struggle and what would they do if they had external forces working on them. So the setup is that our friend Alex has been moved over to being a president, and so he's like the president of the colony, etc. There's these ships that start to show up. First it's one, then there's two, but it's human ships, and they've come from Earth looking for their settlements. Now this in itself sounds like a very innocuous thing. It sounds like something that would actually be fairly, interesting. You know, let's catch up. Let's tell some stories. Let's see where our civilizations have been, what we've done over the last few hundred years, etc. Well, unfortunately, it seems like Earth hasn't changed much, and there's a lot of plots within plots, if you will. I really wasn't disappointed in that, because if they had got there and it was all chummy, okay, it would have been a story, but it wouldn't have been near as good as what this is. So essentially, we've got a man that's a master, and it wouldn't matter if it's a man or if it's a woman, but we've got a person that's a master of tactical type thinking, and he's grown and developed. He's had enhancements installed. It kind of makes me think of Elon Musk and the Neuralink type deal, with the exception of it's advanced, and there's a lot more behind it. It ties into the SAIDs and the ships and everybody being able to share information, etc. The cognitive abilities is just phenomenal. So we've got a person that's a master, and these ships come in, and whenever they come into the system for Meridian, and of course they're not invited, but they stay anyway, and they're trying to force themselves upon the Meridian people. They're wanting to land, they're wanting to find out what's there, etc. And they're not really being too sneaky about their wants and desires, so it gets ferreted out fairly quickly. The people that have come from Earth looking may not be the friends that they are portraying to be. And so we have a dance section in this book where, President Alex and the SAIDs, they're investigating and trying to figure out what these people from the United Earth is looking for. And then also on the other side of the token, we got the people from the United Earth trying to figure out how these people are doing what they're doing. It seems like they have telekinesis or the ability to psychically talk, but they are very sure that they're using a mechanical means to do it. And then there's, the SAIDs themselves filling out the other ships and trying to get as much information as they can. There's a whole lot of cat and mouse and a whole lot of playing back and forth between the UE people and the people that we've been following in this universe. So that's a very interesting segment. But then it gets to a point where things of the past, like peeing contest, who's got the better soldiers? Well, let's have a demonstration and, get to know each other. But, the whole thing is just subterfuge because they're trying to get as much information as they can about the Meridians and about New Terrans, etc. And it's kind of interesting to see their perspectives, but on the same token, there is certainly all kind of a farce, and there's a lot of references of the old ways are not the good ways whenever it comes to this. And in this story, that's right. I'm not going to defend old ways versus new ways or new ways versus old ways in today's society. I'm not going to do it. Whatever's right for you is right for you. It's interesting to see how these people that have come together, the New Terrans and the Meridians and the SAIDs and the Independents, all these groups that have kind of factioned together, how much more they can accomplish, because they're not necessarily a single mind, but they do have the best interest of protecting themselves and all the people that would be considered in that group. And then we've got these examples from the UE people where they're so old school and they're not very malleable whenever it comes to the way that they think about things. Introducing a new idea to them would much be like trying to convince toast that instead of being toast, it is indeed a pancake. The story gets complicated and it's enjoyable. And I don't mean complicated like there's so many things. It's just that it gets complicated because it almost gets in its own way because of all the subterfuge from Group A versus Group B versus Group B versus Group A. So that's kind of fun to see how it actually all comes together and gets resolved. However, the book, the way that it ends, it lets you know very plainly what's going to be happening next. I've got a question for you, the question of the week. It should be considered something more along the lines of this. You know, let's say that we were a colony and we find out that we were a colony. We didn't have any idea that we were, whatnot. But the long of the short is just simply this. Let's say that our ancestors or the people that we came from show up on a ship and now they're making all kinds of demands of us. You know, how do you think that would go? I'm not going to pose it in a, do you think we can kick their rear ends way? Because, I mean, granted, they've gotten into a starship and then they flew light years to get back to us. But what I am going to say is, how do you think it would go down? Myself, I know what I think. So pause the video, make your comment down there, and then once you unpause it, I'll tell you what I think about what would happen. You ready? In 3, 2. So I think what happen is they would show up in the skies and we would do our blustering peacock routine, fluff up like a bunch of mad cats, and then get our handed to us. I don't think it would go very well for humanity at all. I think that we would lose in a big, big way. And the reason why is because we seem to suffer from the stigma of not being able to work together. We always have one front runner, it seems like. Why can't we have more than just one person putting stuff together or trying to improve society or trying to improve technology? Why can't we have groups of people that come together to do these sorts of things? And why can't we just seem to understand that if we don't do something about our planet, we're dying? It's going to kill us because we're going to change it, and we're changing it in a way of which we will not be able to sustain ourselves here. So why can't we handle that? Why can't we actually look at the situation and start to do something about it? I think it would be so cool to see how that's going to play out in the next book. So, you know, the Sades are trying to get things together for Alex, so Alex can go back to the United Earth's front and either bring them into the fold, destroy them. I'm not sure which, but if I were to guess, I would think that he would go back there, find out that Earth's united front really isn't so united, that there's multiple factions within, and that they're in a pinch for resources again, and they're just trying to go out and find places that they can easily take from these colony ships that were sent out. And if that's the case, I hope that the President Alex in this universe that we're talking about from the series, I hope that he goes back and gets them straightened out. Because, again, I don't want, and please don't misunderstand, whenever I say straighten out, I don't mean that he shows up with a big boom boom stick and tells them to shop smart, shop as smart. What I'm getting at is I hope that he can get them where they can all work together as a group for the betterment of humanity instead of working against each other. Because that seems to be the biggest problem, is greed. It's okay to want money. It's okay to work and earn money. It's okay for you to have a skill set that allows you to make a lot of money. I'm not saying anything against any of that. I'm down for that. And in fact, it only makes things better. What I am against, though, is lackadaisical individuals and groups that want to try to say that they're doing things for humanity, but they're really not. That really upsets me. I don't like that very much. And whenever people really just like step down into that whole greed thing, because it's one thing to make some money, right? But it's another whenever you get to the point of where the corporations are involved and they're not paying the countries that they're in any kind of tax. So, you know, the governments are flipping the bills on almost everything. I mean, there's so many things like that that could be addressed easily just by every country. I'm getting there. We've covered Ender's Game from time to time here. right? So if you've ever read Ender's Game, the issue is the planet has got to the point where we're very open-minded and very diverse on a person-to-person, locale-to-locale type of a setup, right? But whenever you get to the point where you're at the level where the countries are involved, they're very close-minded. They don't want to accept this, that, or the other. They rarely want to work together because they're afraid somebody's going to step on somebody's IP or what they feel like they own, that kind of a thing. That whole hegemon thing that Orson Scott Card put in there, and granted, he's not the one that invented those words at all, but what if Earth had a hegemon? What if there was a office of the hegemon, and its whole sole purpose was to keep things like what's happening right now in the world from happening? Like, we know that the Earth has got a problem. We know that we can solve this. So why don't we say, you guys are going to make this, you guys are going to make this. We're going to redo the infrastructure across the countries that have big open spaces, and then we're going to tie everything together. We're going to do this on a continent by continent basis. We're going to bring it up from 10% to 20% on each continent at the same time. We're going to redo the way that municipalities work. We're going to redo this, that, and the other. And it's going to be something that's going to get it to the point where the Earth will be able to become green and sustained again. Or, in the case of something that you probably thought I was going to talk about, what if there was a country that was flat out bullying other countries and expecting them to just lay way? Well, fine. You're cut off until you decide that you want to actually play nice with the world again. No border crossings, just shut them down. And whenever they get ready, they will solve their own problems first, and then they can be brought back into the fold. I know that's an oversimplification, but why not? Because it seems like that's where we're getting to. It's almost like the world needs a babysitter because we're too immature to actually do something positive for the planet in many, many ways. But that's a rant. I'm going to let it be there. Feel free, comment section, dive bomb in. I would love to actually set a conversation about that. That would be so cool, and I will participate. But anyway, the long and the short is this. Would I recommend this book to you? Yes, I would. It is certainly worth your time, efforts, and energies. It is enjoyable. It's really cool to see these other characters that have been in the story stepping up and taking more and more responsibilities upon themselves. And also the way the Sades have, like, they've transcended where they were originally, which is really cool to see as well. So I enjoyed this. It's been a really good sci-fi read. I'm going to switch over to something else for a little bit. And maybe read a couple other books, just because I want to get, I want to let it get some of that freshness back. It's not that I'm struggling to get through the books. I'm not. I'm afraid what's going to happen is I'm going to do like I did with Jack Ryan, whenever I first found those books, and Jack Reacher too, and just power through them. But I don't want to do that. I want to let this one soak a little bit before I get the next one, because it's been enjoyable. I've really liked it a lot. But anyway. I love you guys. Thank you for watching this far. I'm not sure which one of the videos you will pick that's coming in, but if you pick that one up there, I will see you in the next video. And, remember to have a good laugh. Remember to do something for yourself. It's okay to do something for yourself.